6 months ago, I found out my husband, Jeff, slept with my best friend, Allie. Even as I say it now, it feels surreal, almost like something out of a movie or a bad TV drama. I never thought something like this would happen in my own life. Allie wasn't just any friend to me. She was like family. I genuinely loved her, not in a romantic way, but in the way you love a soulmate you're not dating. I always thought of her as my platonic other half, the person who knew me better than anyone else. She had been in my life far longer than Jeff. We grew up together, shared countless memories, laughed until our stomachs hurt, and held each other through tears. I was always there for her, through her darkest days and her happiest moments. I supported her when she felt lost, celebrated her when she achieved something, and stood by her no matter what. Because of that, I trusted her with every part of me. She was the person I confided in, the one I told my deepest secrets to, the one who I thought would always protect me. So when I learned that she had gone behind my back and slept with my husband, the man I built a life with, it felt like someone had driven a knife straight through my chest. I never, not even in my worst nightmares, thought that the woman I trusted the most would betray me in the cruelest way possible. Looking back now, I tell myself I should have noticed the red flags. Maybe the signs were always there, but I was just too trusting, too wrapped up in believing that the people closest to me would never hurt me. Allie had already been through a lot in her own life. She went through a painful breakup, and the way it all happened was heartbreaking. Her ex had been cheating on her for a long time, but she didn't find out until the day before their wedding. Imagine that, the day before one of the happiest moments of your life, you find out the person you're about to marry has been betraying you all along. One of his friends sent her the proof, pictures of him with multiple women. When she saw those images, her whole world crumbled in an instant. And when she confronted him about it, instead of being honest, he twisted everything around. He gaslit her, trying to make her question herself, saying things like he was just afraid of long-term commitment and that it was all a mistake. I remember being there for her through all of that. I held her when she cried. I listened when she needed to vent. I kept reminding her that she deserved better. I told her again and again that she needed to break things off, to call off the wedding, to save herself from more heartbreak. But somehow, he always managed to convince her that he could change. He fed her lies about being scared, about wanting to do better, and even though I could see through it, she wanted so badly to believe him. She clung to that hope, and in the end, she didn't call it off. When the wedding day came, all of us, her friends who loved her, showed up for her because that's what you do when someone you care about is about to take such a big step. We wanted to stand by her side, even if we had doubts. She was glowing, dressed up in her gown, makeup done, smiling through her nerves. She kept saying, "It's going to be okay," as if repeating it would make it true. But then the unthinkable happened. He never showed up. Hours passed, and she just stood there, phone in her hand, calling him again and again with no answer. She waited, holding on to the tiniest thread of hope that he was just running late or that something had delayed him, but deep down, I think we all knew. Later, when we finally went back to his apartment to find out what was going on, the truth hit harder than any of us could have imagined. The place was completely empty. He had packed up all his things and vanished. No note, no explanation, no goodbye, nothing. He didn't just leave the wedding, he left her entire life without a single word. Allie cried for days after that disaster. She could barely get out of bed, let alone go to work or take care of herself. It was like all the light had drained out of her. I'd call to check in on her, and sometimes she wouldn't even pick up the phone. When she did, all I could hear on the other end was sobbing. It broke my heart to see her like that. Eventually, I made the decision to ask her to move in with me and my husband. I thought being around people who loved her would help her heal. She needed comfort, and I wanted to be that safe place for her. At that time, though, my marriage wasn't in the best shape either. You see, I had just suffered a miscarriage not long before this. It was devastating. One moment, me and my husband were filled with hopes and dreams about the future, and the next, it was all gone. The doctors explained it wasn't anyone's fault, just one of those painful things that sometimes happen. But knowing that didn't make it any easier. What made it worse was how my husband reacted. Instead of grieving with me, instead of holding me and reminding me that we were in this together, he blamed me. He acted like I had failed him, like my body had betrayed us. His mother joined in too, whispering poison into his ear, both of them insisting that something was wrong with me, that my womb was defective. I had medical records that clearly said otherwise, but logic didn't matter to them. They clung to their blame, and I was left feeling like I was carrying not only my grief, but also their judgment. So my husband and I were already going through a tough time and even going for marriage counseling. Despite our differences, I held on to the hope that we could repair what was broken. I told myself that no matter how bad things seemed, Jeff and I would push through. I loved him. I believed our history, our vows, and our commitment would carry us through the storm. When Allie moved in, we both tried to welcome her as best we could. She was shattered from her own heartbreak, and even though Jeff and I had our issues, we wanted to give her a safe space to recover. I was glad we could be that support system for her. The only thing is, my job has always had unpredictable hours. Some nights I'd come home late, drained and exhausted, only to find that Jeff and Allie had already eaten dinner together. They'd be sitting at the table, plates pushed aside, laughing about something I wasn't part of. It didn't stop with just dinners, though. Slowly, little by little, I began to notice Jeff and Allie spending more and more time together, just the two of them. They would go out for a movie, and I would tell myself, well, maybe it's good for her to get out of the house, to laugh a little, to distract herself. But then it became a pattern. I would specifically tell them, hey, can we go to a movie on a day I'm actually free so I can come too? Yet somehow they would always end up going without me. They'd shrug it off, saying it was spontaneous or that they just needed a break. Then it was grocery runs and shopping trips. The kinds of errands that couples usually do together. The kinds of everyday moments that, without me even realizing it, at the time, started to make me feel like an outsider in my own home. I remember one night so clearly. I told Allie that I was starting to feel uncomfortable, that it was beginning to seem like I was the third person in my own marriage. It took a lot for me to admit that because I didn't want to come across as insecure or jealous. But her reaction, she just brushed it off. She laughed at me and said I was overthinking it. She reminded me that Jeff and her were just friends, nothing more. That she needed some support and Jeff was simply stepping up where he could. And I believed her. God, I wanted to believe her. This was my best friend, my platonic soulmate, the woman who knew everything about me. The idea that she could lie to my face never even crossed my mind. So I swallowed my feelings and convinced myself I was being silly. I told myself to stop making problems where there weren't any, but deep down something didn't feel right. I just wasn't ready to face it yet. Everything came crashing down one afternoon when I came home earlier than usual. I walked through the door expecting to find the usual, maybe dinner smells in the kitchen, maybe Allie scrolling on her phone, or maybe just silence. But what I saw instead will forever be burned into my memory. There she was, Allie, my best friend, sitting on my sofa in a very revealing nightgown, something you'd never wear casually in someone else's home. She hadn't noticed it was me who walked in. With this playful, almost seductive tone, she called out Jeff's name, her voice soft and high-pitched like she was welcoming a lover home. I froze in shock. For a moment, I couldn't even breathe. And then she turned her head, expecting Jeff, but saw me instead. Her entire body went rigid. She looked like a deer caught in headlights, and for a second, neither of us spoke. Finally, I snapped. The words flew out of my mouth. "What the hell are you wearing? Why are you calling out my husband's name like that in that ridiculous baby voice?" My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. She scrambled for excuses. First, she claimed it was just a very hot day, as if that explained lounging around in lingerie on someone else's couch. She stammered that the nightgown was something she wore unintentionally, as if you could just accidentally slip into something like that. I don't know why, but deep down, my gut told me not to believe her excuses. It was like something inside me finally woke up, a voice screaming that this wasn't innocent, that I was being lied to. I couldn't shake the image of her sitting there, calling out Jeff's name in that tone as if she belonged to him. I tried to hold myself together, though my hands were shaking with anger. I told her as calmly as I could that she needed to go into her room and change, or at the very least stay out of sight if she wanted to wear something that revealing. I told her straight. It made me feel deeply uncomfortable. Instead of respecting my boundaries, she rolled her eyes and argued back. She accused me of being insecure for no reason, as if the problem wasn't her behavior but my reaction to it. That word, insecure, hit me like a slap in the face. After everything I had done for her, after taking her in when she was broken, she dared to turn it around and make me feel like I was the one in the wrong. That was it. I snapped. All the bottled up doubts, the unease, the quiet hurt from watching her get too close to Jeff. It all came spilling out. I told her loud and clear that she needed to start packing her things. I had been patient. I had been supportive, but she had crossed too many lines and I wasn't going to sit back and let her disrespect me in my own home. I reminded her that she had overstayed her welcome and it was time for her to get back on her own feet. This was supposed to be temporary, me helping a friend through a rough time, but instead of healing, she was creating drama in my place and I wasn't about to let it continue. Allie's face went pale when I told her to start packing. She argued that I was being cruel to her, that I was treating her unfairly for no reason at all. Her voice trembled as she reminded me that she was going through a traumatic period in her life, as if that alone excused everything she had been doing. I made it clear that I had stood by her through everything, and I would still care about her as a friend, but this arrangement had gone on long enough. It was time for her to go back to her own home. She even started to cry, but I still stood firm. Eventually, she had no other choice but to pack up and go. After Allie moved out, I expected things to finally calm down. I thought maybe Jeff and I could start picking up the pieces of our marriage again, focusing on ourselves instead of carrying someone else's baggage. But instead, Jeff seemed pissed to come home and find out Allie had moved out. He told me he was upset that I had asked Allie to leave without talking to him about it first, and that she could have stayed with us a bit longer. I reminded him that Allie was my friend, not his, and that I was the one who had opened our home to her. I didn't owe him a conversation about ending something that had become toxic and uncomfortable for me in my own house. He didn't say much after that, but still seemed irritated. That very week, Jeff told me he had to fly out for a business meeting. He said it was a huge opportunity, a chance to land a deal that could potentially earn him a big promotion at his company if everything went well. I was genuinely excited for him. I smiled, wished him all the best, and even told him to call me as soon as he landed. When I dropped him off at the airport, I hugged him tightly, feeling proud and hopeful for what lay ahead. I never, not for a second, suspected that anything could be wrong. That night, Jeff didn't even call or text me once to let me know he reached safely. When I tried calling him, he ignored all my calls. I was a bit worried, but chalked it up to him being busy. Next morning, I got a call from Allie. She asked me how I was and told me that she wanted to thank me for taking care of her all this time. She said she had thought a lot about it and wanted to show her appreciation by sending me a self-care package, which would help make my day. I thanked Allie innocently, telling her that she really didn't have to do something like that, but she insisted, saying that it was important for her to give it to me, that she needed to show her appreciation. I believed her, thinking it was just her way of expressing gratitude for all the support I had given her over the past few weeks. She told me she had already mailed the package and she couldn't wait for me to receive it. When the package arrived, it looked beautiful on the outside. I picked it up, feeling a little flutter of excitement, carefully tore it open. Inside, I found flowers, a bottle of wine, and, oddly, broken heart stickers scattered across the box. I paused at those, confused, but shrugged it off as maybe this was a quirky touch from my best friend. Then I saw it, a sealed envelope with my name on it. I opened the envelope and my heart just dropped. Inside were multiple pictures of Jeff and Allie, naked in bed, laughing, smiling, tangled together. I collapsed to the floor, gasping for air, unable to process what I was seeing. How could this be real? My best friend, the person I trusted most, and my husband, the man I loved, were sleeping together, and Allie had deliberately sent me this package. I tried to call Allie immediately, my fingers trembling as I dialed her number, my voice ready to demand answers, to scream, to understand, but it went straight to voicemail, and then I realized I had been blocked. Panicked, I tried Jeff. I called him again and again, my heart hammering in my chest, but he refused to pick up. Each unanswered ring made my chest feel heavier, like a weight was pressing down on me, threatening to crush me. In that moment, the world around me disappeared. Everything I had believed, every ounce of trust I had in the two people I loved most, came crashing down. My best friend, my platonic soulmate, my husband, the two people who were supposed to love and protect me, had betrayed me in the most cruel, intimate way possible. I was panicking, hyperventilating, completely unable to sit still. My mind was spinning out of control. In a desperate attempt to confront her, I even drove to Allie's place, hoping to get some answers. When I got there, her neighbor told me she was supposedly away on a trip. That's when it hit me like a punch to the gut, the sick, sinking realization that Jeff and Allie must be together. Suddenly everything made horrifying sense. Why he had been ignoring my calls, why he had seemed distant and irritated. The truth settled over me, heavy and inescapable. 3 days later, Jeff finally came back home, and that coward didn't even have the decency to look me in the eye. He admitted without any hesitation that he had been cheating on me, and shockingly said that he was in love with Allie. When I asked him how he could betray me like this, he had the audacity to say that Allie was more beautiful and more feminine than me, and that it just happened once she started living with us. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My heart shattered all over again. Without another word, he packed his bags and walked out, leaving me all alone. A week later, Jeff sent me divorce papers as if ending our marriage was the easiest thing in the world. Neither he nor Allie ever offered an apology, not a single word of regret for the betrayal that had torn my life apart. I thought I could bring myself to sign the papers, to try to move on, but then just a month later I found out that Allie was pregnant with Jeff's child. I felt completely shattered after that. Ever since then, Jeff has been trying to pressure me into signing the divorce papers, trying to make it seem like I should just give up and let him walk away. But I've refused to make it easy for him. Now I want everything from him, every bit of what I deserve. After all the years I gave him, the sacrifices I made, and the pain I endured because of his betrayal, my lawyer says I'm entitled to claim it. I'm determined to make sure that all those years of my life, my love, and my suffering are not ignored or erased. Allie and Jeff have done everything they could to pressure me into giving up. While I've stayed mostly silent, Allie has gone around our friend group spreading her version of the story, trying to spin the story in her and Jeff's favor. According to her, I used to be a bad wife and that Jeff had been unhappy with me, implying that what she did wasn't really wrong. Shockingly, some of our friends seem to have bought into her story, or at least accepted it without question. But thankfully, 3 or 4 people know that is all a lie and have stood by me. It's painful to lose my friends to Allie and Jeff, but at least I know who truly has my back. This week I found out that Allie is throwing a huge baby shower for herself to celebrate her and Jeff's affair baby. She has been telling people that I have made things difficult for both of them by being obsessed with Jeff and not divorcing him sooner, which is why Jeff hasn't been able to enjoy the pregnancy, but that this baby shower is the start of something new. She's been posting about it all over social media, how this baby shower is going to erase all the past and negativity, and is encouraging everyone to attend to give their blessings. She even sent me a long message claiming that I have stressed out Jeff all these months with the divorce proceedings, so much so that he hasn't had a chance to enjoy her pregnancy and doesn't even show up for her ultrasounds, as if it's my fault that he's already such a terrible father. In the message, she also accused me of trying to interfere in their relationship instead of peacefully letting go. She went so far as to demand that I finalize the divorce without asking for any alimony whatsoever, so that they could finally get married and start their lives together. There was absolutely no remorse or apology in her message. I am so pissed by her message. I have tried to remain dignified all this while, but she keeps blaming me for everything when she was the outsider in my marriage. So guys, AITA, if I decide to finally take revenge on her, I want to show up at her baby shower, which is the perfect place where all her friends and family will be present, and expose her and Jeff's affair. I want to let everyone know exactly who she is, because I am done keeping my mouth shut about it. Update 1. Many people have asked why I let Allie move in with us in the first place. At the time, I genuinely thought I was helping a friend who was struggling. She had just gone through a devastating divorce, and I wanted her to feel safe and supported. I never imagined that she would use that trust to get closer to my husband. These past 6 months have been some of the hardest of my life. I felt heartbreak, anger, and betrayal like I never thought I would. I'm not in love with Jeff anymore. Whatever feelings I had for him are gone. But that doesn't mean I have to let him get away with everything he's done. I gave so many years of my life, so much of myself, and I sacrificed a lot for this marriage. And now all I want is what I deserve. I truly believe I should be compensated for all the time, love, and effort I put in, because I know my worth, and I refuse to let Allie and Jeff erase it. Update 2. Okay, so I decided to crash Allie and Jeff's baby shower. I showed up unannounced carrying a huge thank you gift. But this wasn't just any gift. It was packed with flowers, several printed photos of Allie and Jeff together during their affair, and screenshots of all the manipulative messages she had sent me over the past few months. The moment I walked through the doors, the entire room went silent. You could literally feel the air change. People stopped talking mid-laugh, and every eye seemed to shift towards me. And then I saw their faces, Jeff and Allie. The look on them was priceless, like they had seen a ghost. Jeff's jaw went tight, his eyes darted nervously, while Allie froze completely, unable to even form words. For a brief moment it felt like I had all the power in the room, and they were the ones who didn't know how to react. I walked up to Allie, gave her a calm, deliberate hug, then turned to face her and spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. Allie, for the past few months, you've been sending me threatening messages, trying to force me to divorce my husband. You two started an affair right under my nose in my own house, and then had the audacity to blame me for not signing the divorce papers. Allie, let me make one thing very clear. I don't want Jeff back, unlike you. I don't settle for second-hand love. What I do want from him is what I rightfully deserve, the alimony he owes me for all the years I sacrificed, the love I gave, and the life I built with him. That's his fault, not mine. As for you, here's a little package just for you. I handed her the bundle I had brought. The flowers, the screenshots, the photos of her and Jeff together. Remember the package you sent me with pictures of my husband cheating with you? Well, now everyone here is going to see those pictures, so they know exactly who you are. Everyone in the room looked stunned, completely speechless. Allie's mouth hung open like a fish frozen in shock. I handed her the package, gave her a small, satisfied smile to the crowd, and walked out. Suffice it to say, their baby shower was completely ruined. Later, the very same friends who had abandoned me to support Allie reached out to apologize. They told me that after seeing the photos I had left in the package, they finally realized just how heartless Allie had been. They said she had screamed a string of profanities about me after I left, but there was nothing that she could do to hide her actions anymore. It only made her look worse. Even Jeff couldn't handle it when his side of the family started questioning him about his affair, as they all had heard a different story from him. He had no choice but to leave the baby shower in total embarrassment without saying a single word. I'm really glad I exposed Allie for who she is. It was exhausting holding all that anger and betrayal inside. I've spent months feeling powerless while Jeff and Allie tried to manipulate me and rewrite the story of our lives. I have finally taken back my voice. Seeing how people are reacting in support of me, I can't help but feel a sense of justice I haven't felt in months. And for the first time in half a year, I feel a little lighter, a little freer, like maybe I could start moving forward without carrying their betrayal on my shoulders. Update 3. It's been 3 months since my last update, and a lot has changed. Jeff and I have finally divorced. After months of back and forth, he gave in to all my demands and paid me a substantial alimony. We also split the cost of the house, which means I now have more than enough to start completely fresh. Allie hasn't reached out to me at all, not a single call, text, or message. From what I've heard through mutual acquaintances, she's been completely shunned by Jeff's family, and even many of her own friends after I exposed her. No one wants to be associated with her anymore. It's strange to feel a mix of satisfaction and pity, knowing that the same person who tried to ruin my life is now facing the consequences of her own actions. Isolated and rejected. I've already started planning my move to a new city, a place where no one knows about the betrayal, where I can build a home that's entirely mine. The thought of picking out a new house, decorating it exactly how I want, and finally feeling a sense of independence and control over my life is empowering in a way I never thought I'd experience after everything I'd been through. Even though the past year has been full of pain and heartbreak, I can finally say I feel some closure. I'm no longer tied to Jeff. I've taken back my life from the people who tried to hurt and control me. The scars are still there, but this has reminded me that I am strong, that I deserve respect, and that I can start over and build my life the way I want. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.